everyone. Welcome to Saturday Stitching. My name is Danny, and I like to say that every day can be Saturday if your stitching is going well. Today is going to be a little bit different than the last few weeks. First of all, I don't have my daughter with me. She has other plans today, so I thought I'd go it alone. And also, I know I say this every week, but also I plan to try to cut this pretty short since my daughter's not with me today. I'm just going to show a few things and off. Partly because I think my last few videos have rambled a bit too much, but also because I really don't have a whole lot to show, and I'm really feeling my crojo today, as some people would say. I'm not a big fan of that phrase, but whatever. Um, I'm actually in the mood to stitch, which doesn't happen very often. As you know, I tend to be, if you've watched my videos before, I tend to identify as a product knitter. I want to get through the work to have the end product. But lately, the last few projects I've been working on, I've actually enjoyed the stitching, so I kind of want to get back to it. So let's get this started. If you're watching this video later, you may not realize that I did this initially as a live stream just because it's easier for me to record that way. Because let's be honest, it's not like I'm going to edit the video anyway. So let me just check and see on the off chance that there is someone in the chat room. I'm pulling that up now, and then we can get this party started. Okay. I'm doing this on my iPad, by the way, so let me know if the video quality is better than the last few videos. I suspect the answer to that is going to be yes, um, but just let me know just in case. I've resisted recording on the iPad because I don't feel like I can get the setup done very well. I feel like you're looking up my nose, but so I'm going to do my best to just look at the camera, not look at the screen, and not try to squint too much, so you won't know so you won't be looking at my nose. Okay, so let's get this in. I got my timer over here behind me, so I'll be glancing at that every once in a while, because I really am going to try to keep this under 30 minutes so that I don't try anybody's patience. Um, so basically, if you saw the weird title, Square Swiffer hat, I just thought I was being a little bit funny there. Um, Not terribly funny, but those are the only things that I worked on in the 2 weeks since my last video. So let's get started. The first thing is actually the hat. I said square, said Swiffer hat, so you think I'd start with the square, but it just sounded better in that order. But that's not actually the order I'm going to show them in. The first thing I have is the hat. If you watched my last video where I did a little bit of a wig try on with my daughter, and I had a green camo hat on, and I said, well, maybe I'll make another hat in blue to go with the shirt that I was planning to wear on my little getaway. So I worked all week on making the hat and got down to the last minute. I was actually already away from home at my Airbnb furiously. I worked on it in the car as well because I don't drive, so I have the luxury of being able to stitch on car trips because I don't drive at all. So I stitched, and this is what I came up with. I'm gonna have to back up here. This is the hat. I didn't go with the pattern that the other hat. In the other video, I tried on the hat with my wig and it looked cute, but I did not go with that pattern. I thought, well, life is only so long, so why repeat patterns if you don't have to? you know I mean, it's not like I'm making stuff for sale or anything, so I want to try as many new patterns as I can, because who knows how many more stitching years I'll have left in me. But this is the Newsy Cap by Snappy Tots. Some of you, like Terry from Yarn Joy, and I think Ella from No Catchy Name, are big fans of Snappy Tots patterns. I've never done a Snappy Tots pattern before. This was my first time. It's a free pattern. I got it off Ravelry. Um, and it's a nice pattern. It's a very easy to do pattern. I think the problem for me, as you can see, it turned out, you can see I still have ends and my stitch marker, because at this point I tried it on because I had a sneaky suspicion that I would not like the fit, and I was correct. I have a headscarf on now, so it's not going to be a total representation, but I think you'll still be able to see that. See, it's way too big. I wanted like a cap that was going to be like up here but fit. See, I have all this extra here. I wanted a cap that was going to be up here and have the wig where you can see more of the wig, and just have it be really more like that, more tight in the back. But as you can see, if I put, and it's not even the cute slouchy where you can make it where you can kind of do something like this. It doesn't, no, I'm not real happy with it. So once I realized that, I did not weave in the ends, because I probably will, because I kind of like this yarn. The shade of blue, the shades of blue in it, I think look nice with my Doctor Who t-shirt that my other daughter got me for Christmas that I was going to wear this hat with. So I guess I'm just going to have to take this out and either find another cat pattern or go back to the pattern that I actually made the green hat out of. So that was a week's worth of work that was, I don't want to say wasted, but since I get so little done every evening, I only stitch about an hour every evening. And that, because after I do my job and then I do my schoolwork, because this is my last semester of college, then I'm typically about 10 o'clock is where I come out of the office here and go in the bedroom so that I can spend some time with my husband when he gets off work. So I stay up with him till he falls asleep. So I get about, but I also eat my dinner after I get off. So I eat my dinner around 10:30. So figure that in there. So I pretty much get about an hour of stitching each night. And so to have my little hour each evening that I used up for a whole week, and then come up with a hat that I'm going to have to frog, is disappointing, to say the least. But I'm trying to just take it as a learning experience. I should have gone down a hook size probably, and didn't. But all the notes in the pattern were saying, from previous people who had done the pattern, had said that the hat had turned out too tight for them, going by the recommended hook size. So I know that I tend to be kind of a loose knitter, so I figured if I stuck with the recommended hook size, then maybe it would come out just right for me, rather than doing a swatch, because heaven forbid I do a swatch. But to be fair, in the past, before this recent, because if you're new here, I've taken a 1 year, year and a half gap between the last time I was really actively knitting and crocheting and now that I just got back into it a few months ago. But previously, I could reliably go down a needle size or two when I knit things, and it would come out fine. And I could stay with the recommended hook when I crochet things, and it would come out fine. So I was following what I've always done, but I've noticed over the past few months, since I've gotten back into knitting and crocheting, that my crochet must be looser, because the things that I'm making now using the recommended hook are coming out too big. So I guess I'm going to have to start either swatching or just automatically going down a hook size. So the next thing that I worked on, excuse me, I'm going to have to take a sip. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. So, second thing I worked on, and I debated on whether to show this. If you follow me on Instagram, you've already seen it. It is my Swiffer, and I'm going to have my Instagram handle in the bottom because I don't know how well this video is going to show detail. So the pictures look better on my Instagram taken with my phone. So I made a pad for my Swiffer. Now, this is our first Swiffer. I know Swiffers are not a big deal, but I've wanted one since they came out many years ago. But my husband and I just didn't see the need to go to that expense, especially once we realized that it used these disposable pads. And it's like, oh, we don't want to keep buying disposable pads. The money plus the waste for the environment. That just didn't seem responsible. So we never got one. And I'm not the best mopper in the world. So I thought I'd be able to get the floor cleaner if I used the Swiffer. Because you could throw away the pads or whatever. Because I always feel like after a mop has been used a couple times, I feel like I'm just smearing dirt all over my floor. I never feel like my floors get clean when I mop. But anyway, so he finally saw a Swiffer on clearance at, I think he probably bought it at Ollie's. I don't know if you have an Ollie's warehouse near you, but one opened here maybe 5 years ago. And so we pick up a lot of stuff there that we like. So he saw a Swiffer there on clearance. So he decided to go ahead and get one. And so I immediately was like, okay, these things take reusable pads, and he's never going to remember to buy the pads to mop the floor. And I tried out the Swiffer, realized it was easier for me to use, with my back pain and everything than what I've been doing, which is either a mop in a bucket or just throwing some hot water from my tea kettle on the floor and splashing some Pine Sol on the floor and kind of throw a towel on the floor and smush it around with my foot to try to get it clean rather than bend over a bucket because that hurts. So once I realized the Swiffer seemed to be a usable alternative for me, I said, okay, we've got to do something. I've heard over the years, I've seen several patterns over the years for pads for the Swiffer, but it always seemed like they're not really going to do any good. But then a lot of the yarn companies several years ago came out with the scrubby yarns. And I've used the scrubby yarn. I have scraps of the scrubby yarn in my stash. So I know that it works well for dishcloths and scrubbing a little bit of, not heavy duty, it's not steel wool, but if you have a little bit of something stuck on your countertop, it helps. So I thought that would be good to put on the pad. Okay, with that in common. So I made a pad. Now this is wet. I don't know if you can tell from, but this is wet because I couldn't wait to I just finished it. I started on Wednesday, finished it on Thursday. I could not wait until today to show it to you. I wanted to go ahead and mop my floor because my floor needed to be mopped in the kitchen. So I went ahead and used it and rinsed it out so I wasn't showing you a totally gross and filthy pad. And no, I did not weave in the ends because, come on, I just tied a bunch of knots. This is the thing that I'm going to be mopping my nasty floor with, so why am I going to take extra special care with it? Come on now. But it's got, I don't know if you can tell, I'll hold it up this way. It's got little nubbies. You do clusters. It's a free pattern that I found, again, online, that basically you do a single crochet and then a triple crochet and then a single crochet and then a triple crochet. And so the triple crochets in between the two single crochets cause the little nubby thing. Similar to one of the Afghan squares that I made for the stash busting Afghan, now that I think about it. So that's what this is, and I've already used it. It worked well cleaning my my kitchen floor. So I have, and it did not take, it's one strand of cotton, just regular, not like the the mercerized, slick cotton, but the just plain cheap peaches and cream comes on a cone, millions kind of cotton, plus the scraps I have of this scrap is actually red heart scrubby cotton, because the scrubby comes in like an acrylic version and then a cotton version, and I have a little bit of both. And of I still have enough cotton scraps to make one, possibly two more of these pads. The pad is, I used the recommended hook again, and the pad is a little bit big, a little bit wide this way. It's perfectly fine going this way, but it's a little bit wide this way, so it kind of comes up over the edges a little bit, but that's okay. And when I use it, when you push forward, it kind of pulls it back. So I would say take the edge and kind of put it over the front a little bit, so that when you're pushing forward, it doesn't pull it back too much. But the version of, I don't know what other Swiffers look like. The version of Swiffer that I have, the little plate that you attach the pads to, has like little plastic teeth almost that stick up from it, so that when you put the pad on it, you you don't really have to stuff it in a hole or anything. It just kind of sticks to the little teeth. So this does the same thing. It just sticks to the little teeth. But I also have the ties to tie it just in case. But it pretty much sticks to the little teeth, so it's not really going anywhere. So that's kind of cool, because when you go to pull it off, you can hear it going as you come off. So that is what I worked on this week, and then I went ahead and started on square number 4 for the stash busting scrap. I can't remember the full name. It's an unraveled mitten, and it's the crochet along where you're doing the different squares for the stash. I had it memorized and I messed up. Anyway, little journey with this one. When I didn't start it as soon as the instructions were posted, because I was like, because for some, even though this is supposed to be stash busting and I'm supposed to be just grabbing, I already committed in my mind this is going to be kind of a tacky looking Afghan, because I'm not going to try to match the colors. I'm just going to grab the yarns that I am not using in the colors that I am not using, because the oddballs are not really enough to want to pass on to anybody. And I want to be honest, I want to honor and respect the gift that was given to me, because all of this yarn, even though it's not my taste, was given to me by other people because they trusted that I would find a use for it. So for me to just give it away or throw it out or whatever because it's not my taste, I can't stomach that. So it's not 100% my taste, but I feel like I can find a use for it in an Afghan or something. And as we've discussed on here before, my kids seem to be attracted, even though they're not children anymore, they're adults, but they still seem to be attracted to the ugliest blanket I can make. They will wrap up in that and watch TV. So it doesn't have to be gorgeous. I mean, they like pretty ones too, but for some reason they fight over the few ugly ones I've managed to make. So I said that I was just going to grab the colors that I know I'm not going to use, mostly the variegated ones, because I really have trouble finding a use for variegated ones. But then I hesitated making this square, because even though I said I was not going to care about the colors, part of me was like, well, I got to kind of find a color that's going to coordinate with the last 3 squares that I did, which, if you recall, square number 1, because this is what Yarn Joy does. She likes to remind you of the squares, so I'm going to do it too. Well, I think this was square number 1, actually. I think this was square number 1, And I think this was square number 2. So those kind of coordinate. And this is square number 3, unfinished, because I lost the teal yarn. You remember that from last episode. So all of these kind of coordinate with each other. You know, they kind of they kind of go together. But I was like, you know what? Terry at Yarn Joy is beating me. She got her 4 square done already. It's not really a race, but in my mind, it's a race because she always gets hers done first. She doesn't even know that it's a race in my mind. So I'm good. So I said I'm just gonna grab. When I saw she'd already posted a video of her 4 square, I said I need to grab something and get my 4 square done. So I grabbed a yarn that I knew was not my taste, which was this. Okay, it's unlabeled. I'm pretty sure when I got it, all that was with it was this and um, the partial square that the previous owner made. I guess she was going to start a project and changed her mind about what she was going to do, which was this. This is the partial square. Okay. I think from unraveling the top a little bit, I think this is double crochet stitches all the way across. I'm not good at reading crochet, just looking at it and going, oh, those are double crochets. Even when I unravel it, I count the loops and I go, I think that's double crochet. I'm not 100%. I'm just not good at going backwards that way. But yeah, this yarn does not attract me. These colors are not particularly my colors. I mean, I kind of like the blue, but I've never been a fan of brown or anything. It just, this in general is not my thing. And seeing it crocheted up into this square did not make me like it anymore. So I was like, okay, I'm just going to throw this into this Afghan. It does not match any of the ones that I already picked, but that's the whole point. I think it'll probably be worse if I start off with a theme and then start throwing random ones in there. So I might as well throw the random ones in there now before I go too far down the road of all purple. So, but a funny thing, you probably read this already if you've seen my Instagram. A funny thing happened when I actually started to make this. Square number 4, first funny thing. Okay, first funny thing. Square number 4 of the Afghan actually uses a stitch that is very similar to what I used in the body of this hat. So when I glanced at the instructions, even before I started it, I said, okay, I know I'll be able to finish this really quickly because I already know this stitch. Because this hat, once you get into the body of it, is basically single crochet. It's called a sedge stitch. At least that's what the woman that unraveled mitten called it. I'd never heard of it before. But it's in the hat, it is single crochet, then half double crochet, and then double crochet all in the same stitch. Then you skip 2 stitches and then repeat the same thing. Single crochet, half double crochet, double crochet all in one stitch. And then every row after that, you do your 3 stitches all in the single crochet from the previous row. So you're always skipping the double crochet and the half double crochet and stitching into the single crochet. Very simple to memorize. Because when you look at the stitch, it dips like this, so you barely even have to count. You go to where the dip is, and that's where you stitch. So this one, for this square, it is actually single crochet, 2 double crochets, and then skip your 2 stitches. Which is easier for me because when I was doing the hat, a lot of times I would forget, am I doing double crochet or half double crochet? So doing a single and 2 doubles was actually even easier for me to memorize. And once I started doing the stitch, I realized I was really falling in love with this pattern. I was falling in love with this yarn in this, because look at it in this stitch. I know it sounds crazy, but just stitching it was making me happy. I mean, look at it. Look at it here. Just kind of plain. And then in this stitch, I've got it upside down. But in this stitch, the yarn, just like the texture of it makes the yarn come to life, and the clusters of it, especially, see if I can hold both of these up here, but like, see the greens right here, and then see how they look here when they're clustered right here. It just seems to have more movement and more, I don't know, it's hard to explain. I just like, more than any of the other colors, I like seeing the green clustered up that way instead of like here, especially where it's just blue, green, blue, green, blue, green, blue, green. But seeing the blues and greens together in a wave almost makes me think of water or something. It just, it makes me think, you know how when you buy those fancy yarns, I like to call them, you know, when you see the hand dyed yarns or whatever, and they're not quite a solid color, they're kind of slightly streaky to them. That's what this stitch makes this yarn look, which you wouldn't suspect when you look at it like this. I don't even know what colorway this is. I am I would bet money that it's Red Heart because it came from my mother, and practically everything in that box, which I shall call from now on the box that keeps on giving, at least until we empty it out. The box that keeps on giving, 95% of everything in there is Red Heart, because you know we came up learning how to stitch in the same place, and where we're from, everything was just Red Heart. There I didn't even know there was anything other than Red Heart until maybe 20 years ago. But as a kid, the only yarn that existed in the world to me was Red Heart. I didn't realize there was anything else. And I didn't know there was such a thing as yarn shops, definitely. But anyway, I'm getting distracted. But just look at it on both sides. It's to the point where, and I love the way, I know it feels like I'm bragging on myself, but I just love the way, look at, my crochet has never been so straight. When I first did the first row of this on the bottom, it looked like it was going to bow out a little bit, and I thought, oh, I'm going to have to stretch the bottom to make it, you know, not be a lopsided square. But look at this. It is so straight. I am so, this, making this square, just stitching this square is making me happy. Seeing the colors interplay with each other is making me happy, to the point where I almost thought, maybe I should not put this in the scrap afghan. Maybe I should take it out and make something else with it. But then I talked myself out of that, because I know if I take it out to save this yarn for something else, it will be 5, 12 years before I turn it into something else. At least this way, I make it into this square. If I actually make it to the end of this crochet along, because that still remains to be seen, because I mean, really, it's March. I got to go all the way to December and stick to a goal. Come on now. It remains to be seen if I finish this, but so far so good. And if I get to December and I finish and actually put this afghan together, then I'll have this square to look at and appreciate the way these colors are playing against each other. And it's not even the same as with, you can tell it's something, it's a combination of this stitch and this yarn, because it's not even the same with this hat. The play of colors is, it looks like it's a different stitch. It almost looks like it's a different stitch. the way the colors are going against each other. So I really like this stitch in this yarn. It's just a happy pair, a happy pairing. So anyway, that's enough of me waxing poetic about this unnamed colorway that I'm working on. So when I get done here, that's the end of this. I'm not going to bore you guys with what I've been watching or reading or whatever else. If I decide to make another video on that, I'll do that later. Um, because I was going to do that this week. Quick note, and then we'll be done because we're almost at 30 minutes. But I was going to do that this week, but I will probably do it starting next week. Um, do all of the crafty stuff in the first live stream, stop the live stream, start another live stream immediately after to talk about books and movies and whatever while I have my daughter with me because she's only off on Saturdays. So I'll probably do both of them so that do it that way so that I can record it all in one day but have two separate videos so that those who do not really want to sit through the rest of my ramblings and catching up with my daughter don't have to sit through that. We'll do all of the crafty stuff in the beginning and then cut off the video. So hopefully we'll start that next week and see how well that works. But in the meantime, I thank you for watching this video. It doesn't look like there was anybody in the live chat, which is fine. I don't expect people to show up for the live chat. I know there's a lot of popular chats that are live streams that are going this week. As a matter of fact, today there's supposed to be one that Publix, the grocery store chain, is supposed to be putting up how to make empanadas. I should probably be watching that instead of making this. But thank you for watching. Hopefully next week I will get some more things done. Because I'm really starting to feel pumped up between making the videos and working on some of these smaller projects. Is starting to get me pumped up again for the UFOs that I have sitting in there that have been weighing on my conscience. So I'm going to take this square. I'm going to go back and finish watching some Netflix. And hopefully I'll have something to show you next week. Bye.